Naruto, Unlocking Genius with 10 Skill Bars, Episode 56, Danzo's Surprise Water-Style Genius, from Shiyu being dragged by two enemies, to chasing him out and approaching cautiously through penetration. After leaving Konoha, Shiyu turned on the acceleration of thinking. Shiyu didn't miss any trace along the way. At the same time, it is true that there is no chance that the other party has Tibetans, and it is also certain that no second person will come into contact with the other party. With the power of observation accelerated by thinking, it is impossible to miss any details. However, how could a man as big as Naruto suddenly disappear? After searching around for a long time, Shiyu directly dispatched more than 20 clones. Basically the entire forest was turned upside down by Shiyu. But still nothing was found. Naruto really disappeared out of thin air? Spacetime ninjutsu? If it is really such a ninjutsu, then why run out of Konoha? After capturing Naruto back then, wouldn't it be good to just disappear? And I don't know spacetime ninjutsu, and I definitely can't catch up with 553 opponents. Shiyu didn't believe in evil, and searched for a full half an hour, from the forest to the outside of the Konoha, using his avatar to search all over. Shiyu has searched every possible corner. There is still no trace of Naruto, and there are no scrolls or anything like that on the ninja. A big living person disappeared out of thin air? If it's not a spacetime type of ninjutsu, or something like a special seal scroll, then the only possibility left is Naruto is still in Konoha. Shiyu started thinking acceleration when he left Konoha. The only thing he might not have noticed was when he was in Konoha. Shiyu hurried back to Konoha, and relied on the escape to avoid the Umbu ninja who came to look for him. When Shiyu just returned to Konoha, he suddenly found a team of Umbu's ninjas by the roadside. Why did that demon fox kid suddenly faint here? Master Hokage said let's send him back and forget about it. Naruto is really in Konoha. Shiyu, who was hiding in a dark corner, was puzzled. Catch Naruto, then throw Naruto aside. What is this operation? If Naruto is irrelevant to those three guys, then, that is to say, these three people are here for themselves. Danzo hiding in the root organization rat hole at the moment. With his back to a rooted ninja. Master Danzo, the operation failed, and all three were killed. Oh. Danzo froze for a moment. Kill my three root ninjas, they are all at the level of Chunin, and they are all elites. How could a kid who hadn't graduated from ninja school possess such fighting power? Master Danzo, the bodies of two of them were found by Umbu, and the body of the remaining one was not found. According to the inspection of Umbu's ninja, both of them were blocked in an instant. Moment. Shut the throat. Danzo's closed eyes suddenly opened. This is impossible, a brat with slightly superior swordsmanship talent. How could it be possible to have this kind of strength? Although Umbu is from Sarutobi, and Danzo looks down on him a bit, the investigation of these Umbu ninjas will not make too many mistakes. I underestimated that brat. The ninja of Umbu witnessed the Moonlight Shiyu directly and instantly turned into countless streams of water, bursting out of Konoha at an astonishing speed. The remaining one was probably caught up by Konoha, and then killed by Moonlight Shiyu. That's for sure. But it turned into countless streams in an instant. Instant body? Or water style's instant body? This is interesting. How a kid who hasn't graduated from ninja school mastered the water style body flicker technique. Danzo is no stranger to this technique. His old friend, Hanzo of the Salamander, also uses it. And to master this kind of escapism, you must first have an incredible talent for water style to be able to master this type of escapism. Moonlight Shiyu, that brat can do it. It doesn't matter where he learned it from, what matters is that he has such a talent at this age. Hiruzen. Hiruzen, it seems that our boy with amazing talent in swordsmanship is not just good at swordsmanship. Still a water-style genius. Now Danzo is very surprised, but also feels more excited. I didn't expect Konoha to suddenly emerge such a genius. At the moment, Hiruzen, who was being talked about by him, was still in Hokage's office looking at the report in his hand, and also frowned. The man in black who was killed instantly, Naruto who passed out, and the ninja who disappeared in an instant. Hiruzen had a headache. The two dead people were found to be 80% rooted ninjas. But it's not a recorded ninja, the root ninja raised by Danzo in private. But why is Naruto comatose? Who is the ninja who disappeared in an instant? What is this guy Danzo doing? Who was the root ninja sent to kill? I want to ask Danzo to clarify, but since Danzo chooses to do it directly, he obviously doesn't intend to consider his own opinion. Ask Danzo, that guy will most likely not tell himself. It's getting too much. Danzo, whoever he is dealing with in the village, doesn't take himself seriously. It even seems to involve Naruto this time. Maybe Naruto bumped into something so he was knocked out and left aside. After Naruto wakes up, Hiruzen will ask himself. On the other side, Umbu's ninja sent Naruto back, and Shiyu returned to his home quietly. The target is not Naruto. Be yourself. When Konoha started, and when the incident happened, the surrounding Umbu ninjas seemed to be quite far away. Umbu's ninjas are all over Konoha, and it is impossible for a certain area to suddenly have fewer people. It's obvious. Apart from Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage Lord, the only one who has the ability to influence the Umbu ninja is Danzo in Konoha. Shiyu didn't expect that he was so mediocre. The only time he performed was to display the sword technique of breathing water on the training ground. Is this being tracked? I lured myself out of Konoha because I was afraid that the movement would be too loud. They want to capture themselves alive. If 0.8 is not captured alive or assassinated, there is no need to lead him outside Konoha. The assassination will not make much noise. Capture yourself alive? Swordsmanship for water breathing? It seems that this is the only reason. I want to learn the practice method of water breathing from my own mouth. Danzo. Danzo. Do you care so much about a little swordsmanship? You think highly of me too. But maybe Danzo didn't take it too seriously, otherwise he wouldn't just send 3 root ninjas who weren't even jonin to deal with him. Obviously, he didn't take himself seriously, thinking that those 3 people were enough to take him down. But whether or not Danzo took it seriously before, it's different now. Next time if Danzo makes another shot, it won't be 3 Chunin level guys. Episode 57, not just talented in swordsmanship, Shiyu lifted the curtains and peeked out the window secretly. The number of ninjas in Umbu has increased a bit. Danzo probably won't take a shot tonight, or he won't take a shot anytime soon. Konoha still has the final say on Hiruzen, and Danzo will anger Hiruzen if he does this. Shiyu lowered the curtains and lay down on the bed. I can be targeted even if I don't show off. It seems that I can't keep a low profile if I want to keep a low profile in the future. Since you can't be low-key, let's be a little high-key. And carrying the title of genius is not without its benefits. He glanced at the great sage who was still calculating in the system. There are still 10 hours left. After tomorrow's graduation exam, the waterway calculation will be completed. Ice Dun cooperates with water style, and his combat power will be further strengthened. In short, his strength will be improved, whether it is Danzo or Akatsuki. If you have strength, don't be afraid. Shiyu, who came to the ninja school the next day, took the ninja sword Zijutsu for the first time. The previous Shiyu were all without weapons. Shikamaru and others looked at Shiyu ninja knife behind him. Shikamaru smiled secretly, staring at Shiyu. This guy is finally planning to use that terrifying knife technique? 21. While chatting with everyone, Naruto finally came to the school, but he looked depressed. He saw that Shiyu wanted to come over as soon as possible, but this time Iruka walked in. Okay. Everyone, go back and sit down. The graduation exam is advanced to test your true level. The next step is the most important step in your ninja career. After passing the exam, you can become an official ninja. On the contrary, you need to go to an ordinary school to continue learning other skills besides ninja. I hope you all work hard. The exam begins. Although it is said to be a ninja's graduation exam. But in fact, it seems that there is no difference from the usual test. Checked everyone's hidden weapon throwing, and then tested the clone technique. A group of little ghosts lined up at the door, and one after another walked into the examination room to conduct individual tests. Seeing a kid in front of him come out dejectedly, Shiyu slowly pushed the door forward and walked in. Iruka looked up at Shiyu. Shiyu, you seem to have changed a lot recently. I've heard about the training ground too, teacher. How is it? Are you confident in today's exam? Judging from Shiyu's usual grades and performance, it is not easy to pass the exam. Shiyu nodded very easily. Have. Okay then. Let's go. Show off your clone technique. As soon as Iruka finished speaking, Shiyu raised his left hand to make a simple seal of the child. Boom. A clone appeared beside him. Clone technique is nothing special, but Iruka looked at Shiyu with wide eyes in surprise at the moment. Just now. If he read it right, Shiyu only used one hand to make the seal. One-handed printing? Moonlight Shiyu still has this talent? One-handed seal is not something that can be mastered through practice, it is a kind of innate ability, just like Shiwaji Jiajia, it is born with it. If not, it is impossible to master it in a lifetime. Teacher, is it all right? Hearing Shiyu's voice, Iruka recovered from his daze. Looking at Shiyu in surprise, he nodded, okay. Shiyu went out. Looking at Shiyu's back, Irika suddenly felt that his teacher seemed a little unqualified. It's been so long that he didn't know that some of his students had such a talent. The graduation exam ended in the morning. When school was over in the afternoon, the results of the exam finally came out. Naruto came to Shiyu with his forehead protector. Thank you. Shiyu, if you hadn't helped me with the special training yesterday, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to pass the graduation exam today. It's nothing, didn't you invite me to eat ramen too? Naruto smiled, and hooked Shiyu's shoulder with one hand. I'll treat you to Uncle Ichiraku's ramen after I get the task reward. Seeing Naruto and Shiyu's arms crossed, Sasuke walked past them with a cold snort. Shiyu smiled. Is Erjuzi jealous? After finishing the exam, Naruto also came to Shiyu's house as promised to help Shiyu with the so-called cleaning. After the end, Shiyu asked Naruto to go back to rest early, and Shiyu himself is going to prepare for the new blood successor boundary ice escape. Now that Naruto has successfully completed the graduation exam, the plot of stealing the sealed book in the original book should not appear. But it's a pity to think about it now. If Naruto can still steal the sealed book, then Shiyu may have a chance to take a look. But thinking about it, it shouldn't be possible. It's just a trick set up by third generation. If I really do it, the consequences can be a bit serious. In Hokage's office right now. Third generation looks at Irika. Really? Irika nodded. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes, it can't be wrong. The third generation in front of him picked up Shiyu's information in his hand. This kid actually has the talent to make seals with one hand. This is indeed surprising. Call Naruto for me. Third generation put down the information in his hands, and Irika didn't continue to ask any questions. Naruto came after a while. Naruto enters third generation's office. What's the matter? Grandpa third generation, do I have a task for me so soon? 370. Just graduated today. Naruto is in a pretty good mood. Third generation smiled. Congratulations, Naruto graduated successfully. Hey. By the way, Grandpa asked you something. You were unconscious yesterday. Do you know what happened? Naruto was stunned for a moment. That's right. I wanted to ask Shiyu today, why did I fall into a coma yesterday? I was busy with the exam and forgot to ask him. Shiyu, you were with Shiyu yesterday? That's right. Shiyu taught me the shadow clone technique. Thanks to him, I was able to graduate today. Naruto kept talking, but third generation stopped listening. Instead, his eyes flickered slightly. Danzo's target yesterday was Shiyu, and those ninjas were aiming at Shiyu. 2 of them were instantly killed by Shiyu. That was the elite Chunin combat force, and traces of fighting were also found in a forest outside the village. And Umbu's ninja reported that there were traces of water style used, and it is speculated that it should be A-level water style ninjutsu. Unleashing water style ninjutsu in places without water, breaking down several giant trees directly, this is not something ordinary ninjas can do. Moonlight Shiyu, water style, that's right, the combination of water style and swordsmanship. If you don't have a certain degree of mastery of water style, it is impossible to create that kind of sword hate. This kid is not just talented in swordsmanship. Episode 58, Development of Ice Escape. Third generation glanced at Naruto, who was still excited. Okay Naruto, you go down first. Grandpa has something to do. Naruto was working hard. He was learning Shadow Clone for the first time yesterday, and he was able to master it smoothly. However, seeing that third generation didn't seem to be very interested, Naruto also felt a little bored. After making a grimace, he left without looking back. Third generation recalled the 2 corpses it saw last night. Judging from the cuts on the necks, the weapons used were very sharp. But judging from the width of the incision, it doesn't seem like it was caused by a ninja knife. How did Shiyu do it? At this moment, Shiyu has come outside Konoha. With the previous lessons learned, Shiyu left Konoha this time and used transmitting, completely concealing his body shape and aura. Then quickly leave Konoha. When I came outside the village, I didn't go to the place before. Instead, I found a waterfall again. Seeing the rushing water in front of him, Shiyu jumped directly onto the boulder in the middle of the river. You can rest assured now. Great Sage, how is the calculation? Great Sage, calculus countdown 2 minutes. With the last 2 minutes left, being done is about to complete the calculation. Shiyu couldn't help rubbing his hands together, although it wasn't the first time he had obtained the blood successor limit, but Shiyu still looked forward to the ice escape. The power of ice should never be underestimated. Even in Shiyu's opinion, the Ice Emperor is not weaker than wood style. Calculation completed. Congratulations to host for acquiring a new skill, Ice Escape. For a moment, Shiyu suddenly closed his eyes. From the deepest part of the body, there seemed to be a sudden chill. The cold air flowed through his whole body. But this cold air didn't make Shiyu feel uncomfortable at all, just like being in the scorching sun. Suddenly jumped into the clear spring, the cool and refreshing feeling is very comfortable. When Shiyu adapted to and controlled the ice escape chakra in his body, white mist began to emerge around Shiyu's body. The pervasive cold air spread, forming a layer of frost on the surface of the boulder. Opening his eyes, Shiyu lowered his head and opened his hands. Looking at the palm of the hand, snowflakes floated up one after another, accompanied by a piece of ice crystal slowly rotating. Is this the power of ice escape? This feeling is very strange. Shiyu slowly pressed his hand on the boulder, and then crazily broke out the ice escape chakra. The cold air spreads. The boulder is frozen, and a thick layer of solid ice visible to the naked eye condenses and spreads rapidly. In a short time, most of the river was completely frozen. Under the scorching sun, the ice cubes that were frozen did not show any signs of melting. The power of ice escape is more powerful than Shiyu imagined. This is just a rough use of the ice escape chakra, and it is not used by ninjutsu. With ice escape, it is natural to have some supporting ninjutsu. This ability to freeze the surroundings can develop a special ninjutsu. Great Sage, can you do calculations? Great Sage, calculating, 1%, 2%, the growth rate is a bit slow, but it doesn't matter, it doesn't take a few minutes. Great Sage, completion of calculations. Congratulations to host for acquiring a new skill, Ice Escape, Frozen Moment. Shiyu felt the new ninjutsu in his mind. How to say this technique? The name sounds good, but the effect is just. Ice Escape, Freezing Moment. The surrounding air temperature will drop rapidly, and everything within the affected area will start to freeze quickly. No wonder the Great Sage's calculation went so smoothly. Isn't this just an upgraded version of the rough usage of Ice Escape chakra? At most, it was optimized by the Great Sage. Shiyu felt helpless. Raise your hand to seal the mantra, ready to see how the actual effect will be. In the next second, strong chakra fluctuations erupted. Keep this seal and look around. With Shiyu as the center, everything within 10 meters began to condense frost rapidly. As time passed, it took more than 10 seconds to achieve the effect of freezing. This technique. It feels like some rubbish. Within 10 seconds, with a range of 10 meters, as long as you are not an idiot, you will know to stay away from Shiyu. Even at the speed of ordinary people, the time of more than 10 seconds has already gone out of the range. Could it be that Shiyu is required to run with the enemy while performing this technique? Even if you can kill the enemy, this way of killing the enemy is too cheap. Forget it, the Great Sage uses water-style ninjutsu to transform Ice Escape ninjutsu. Great Sage, in calculus, water-style water turbulence transforms into Ice Escape. Transformation failed, conversion failed? Shiyu froze for a moment, can the transformation fail? Water-style water dragon bomb technique. Transformation failed, water-style water body technique. Transformation failed, Great Sage, report single attribute ninjutsu, transformed into blood successful ninjutsu, lack of information, unable to complete the transformation, therefore, it is impossible to transform water-style into Ice Escape. Right. Ice Escape is a fusion of two chakra attributes, and the ninjutsu conversion between a single attribute is naturally different. If you can't directly convert ninjutsu, doesn't it mean that I need to develop it myself? Great Sage, yes, but the ninjutsu developed by myself was also developed by the Great Sage just now, but its power is really. When Shiyu smiled helplessly, he suddenly froze for a moment. By the way, you can use the skill bar to slowly increase the power of your skills. Turning his head to look at the skill he just developed, Ice Escape, Frozen Moment. Although the effect of the skill doesn't look very good, if it keeps hanging on the skill bar, it will continuously increase its power. That would be different. As the power continued to increase, the affirmation of Wang Li's returned to such an exaggerated level that Shiyu only needed one seal. Then in an instant, within a radius of 100 meters, or even a kilometer, will be directly shrouded in the wind and snow all over the sky. Thinking of this, Shiyu immediately felt a little interesting. If you develop it yourself, you can develop it yourself. Although the initial power of the developed ninjutsu may not be very good, there is a passive skill column to continuously enhance the power of the skill. No matter how rubbish the Ice Escape ninjutsu is, it will become infinitely terrifying in his own hands. At the same time, I really can't figure out the tricks of being done, and I can also refer to characters with similar abilities in other worlds, Lee. This is not any difficulty for Shiyu. Furthermore, when it comes to imagination, there is probably no one in the entire ninja world who can compare to me. Development. Not difficult. Looking at the condensed frost around him, the corners of Shiyu's mouth rose slightly. He thinks he might have a good idea already. Episode 59, Freezing Ninjutsu that strengthens offense and defense. Shiyu raised his hands and looked at the cold air rising in his palms. Ice escape. It should not be just fighting with ice, but more importantly, it should be the terrible low temperature. Temperature. It is the most terrifying power of ice escape. Great Sage, the reason why water style can't transform ice escape, is there any other reason besides chakra? Great Sage, the water flow is polygonal, there is no fixed shape, water style can be converted to ice escape, and the solid body cannot be like a liquid, so it means that the form of water is not suitable for ice. And what about earth style? Great Sage, chakra has different attributes and different operating principles, one is different inside, and the other is different outside. Shiyu nodded, and it was almost the same as what he thought. Although ice escape seems to be more compatible with water style, but in fact, the main power should belong to wind style. Shiyu smiled. Chill. This is the real power of Ice Dungeon. Well, Shiyu has a good idea. Great Sage, try to calculate, if you use the ice escape to freeze water, condense it into ice and snow, and use the low temperature of ice and snow to create an effective attack. In the state of ice and snow, can it be successful to transform water style and so on? Great Sage, analyzing. 533 analysis? Not calculus? It seems that analyzing this skill is not just analyzing ninjutsu, even the theory of ninjutsu can also be analyzed. That's good, use the analysis ability to analyze your own ninjutsu theory, then you can better develop new ninjutsu. Analysis completed. Great Sage, transformation is possible, sure enough. In the ice state of Ice Done, it is really impossible to perform flexible and changeable ninjutsu attacks. After all, ice is solid, shouldn't the common method be to smash the enemy, or is it better to hit the enemy? The white in the original book just condenses water into ice like 1,000 books, which are used to attack the enemy. It can be seen that the frozen and condensed ice cubes are actually of little development value. Chill. It is the real main power of ice escape. Now that the main development direction has been found, all that remains is to develop a perfect ninjutsu. It is best to integrate offense and defense, and even be flexible. Otherwise, it takes a few hours for a ninjutsu to develop and calculate, and a few hours for a ninjutsu. Ice escape Shiyu alone will take a lot of time. Attack and defense in one. Speaking of this question, Shiyu suddenly thought of someone. Gaara. The sand controlled by Gaara is very convenient for attack and defense, and the method of using sand to cause damage to the enemy is also very simple. Squeeze. Penetrate. Both. Magnet style is a certain kind of magnetic force that is controlled. The sand attracts each other, and the stronger the magnetic force, the stronger the extrusion force. Penetration is to strengthen the sand and turn it into a sharp weapon like a hidden weapon, killing the enemy in the simplest and most direct way. So what if the sand is replaced by ice and snow? Ice can also be very sharp, and there is no problem with ice and snow condensing into ice arrows, ice knives, ice shurikens, etc. Sand can be squeezed, and ice and snow can explode cold. Once it touches Shiyu's ice and snow, it will be invaded by cold air, and once the body tissue encounters low temperature, the speed of cell necrosis is not at all slower than being burned by fire. And if chakra is strengthened, then the temperature can become lower. Tens of degrees below zero is already terrifying, but if it is -1 or 200 degrees, the power of the cold air will be even more terrifying. Absolute zero is only -273 C. Great Sage, with my thoughts just now, can you calculate a new ninjutsu? Great Sage, analyzing. Analysis progress, 10%, 20%. Analysis completed. Great Sage, can calculate. Then let's start the calculation. I want to control the power of ice and snow. Calculation begins. Estimated time 12 hours. 12 hours? It's not, too slow, but Shiyu can speed it up a little. 7 passive skill bars. Passive skills column 1 to 3 are chakra refinement, advanced physical skills, basic visual illusion. Passive skills column 4 to 5 are all water breathing. As for the remaining passive skill columns 6 to 7, now all of them are equipped with ice escape, freezing moment. Skill is running. Shiyu waited silently. To Shiyu's surprise, the running time of ice escape, frozen moment, is actually a bit long. It took a full 3 minutes to complete the run. Once every 3 minutes, 20 times an hour, this progress is a bit slow. However, if 2 skill bars are installed at the same time, then it can be operated 40 times in an hour. At the same time, while running, each ice escape and freezing moment can be enhanced. The enhancement of ice escape can reduce the calculation time of the Great Sage. Needless to say, the enhancement of the freezing moment technique. This technique will become stronger and stronger. The only thing to worry about is the consumption of chakra, which will gradually increase. But this problem is not without a solution, because it can't hang 2 ice dungeons in the skill column. In this way, using ice escape is in a state of no consumption. No matter how much chakra is consumed, there is no need to worry. During the system calculation process, Shiyu also has something to do, and can update the skill status. Let the skill state of ice escape, frozen moment, become more and more perfect. As Shiyu began to perform ice escape, freezing moment, everything within the range of Shingmi was constantly freezing. As time goes by, snowflakes slowly fall down. And with the continuous operation of the freezing moment in the skill bar, Shiyu's freezing range is constantly expanding. And Shiyu used the ice escape anyway, and it didn't consume any energy, and it lasted until late at night. In 5 hours, Shiyu updated the status of his skills 7 times. The continuous update of the status of skills also means that the limit of what Shiyu can do is also constantly increasing. And the calculation time of the Great Sage has also been reduced to 7 hours. There are 2 hours left, and Shiyu doesn't intend to wait any longer. After all, it is already late at night, and there will be Genin shift tomorrow, and Shiyu will have to get up early. In 5 hours, Shiyu's freezing range has expanded to a distance of 36 meters. The power has been increased by more than 3 times. At the same time, the speed of freezing has also been doubled, and it only takes 5 or 6 seconds to freeze everything within the range. Shiyu is also able to control chakra, focusing on quickly freezing something within range. The freezing time is about 3 seconds, depending on the size of the target. But freezing is only freezing the surface layer, wanting to completely let the cold penetrate the inside. It still takes about 10 seconds. Episode 60, Let Little Sakura Avoid Detours for 2 years. Back home, Shiyu did not continue to wait for the ice escape ninjutsu that could be calculated in an hour. Instead, go straight to sleep. Shiyu woke up early the next morning. The ice escape ninjutsu calculated yesterday has also been calculated, completed. Shiyu checked briefly. Ice escape, ice and snow world, the name is not bad. The effect is basically as Shiyu requested. Ice escape, ice and snow world, it can be cast without seal, but it can only be used in conjunction with ice escape frozen moment, and the chakra consumption to maintain the frozen moment doubled. Create a world of ice and snow within the scope of freezing time, and manipulate all ice and snow for attack or defense. Ice and snow can be changed into ice crystals, ice cubes, and various types of ice and snow according to the idea of the host. Consuming chakra at the same time can create unlimited ice and snow within the range covered by the spell. Enemies or objects touched by ice and snow will be impacted by cold air and will be frozen quickly. After seeing the effect of this operation, I am very satisfied. This is basically the same as he had imagined, but the amount of chakra consumed may be quite a lot. Shiyu has experienced the chakra consumption of the frozen moment before, according to the current amount of chakra of Shiyu, without using his ninjutsu. To maintain the freezing time, it can only last for half an hour. And the ice and snow world technique will double the chakra consumption of the freezing moment. It seems that if you want to use being done in the future, you must let being done acquire the ability that does not consume. Otherwise, Shiyu wouldn't be able to last long at this chakra consumption rate. Replaced passive skill 7 with ice escape, ice and snow world. In this way, although it is not possible to get stuck in a state of no consumption, it is enough to replace 2 ice escapes during the battle. Come to ninja school. Naruto arrived early and was the first to greet Shiyu when he saw him. Shiyu, here. Shiyu nodded at Naruto, but turned around and sat down next to Naruto. Shikamaru frowned and looked at Shiyu. Why does it always feel like you are bringing a cold wind? Is there? Ice Dun's breath leaked out? Not so. Choji, on the side, no. Why didn't I feel it? Shikamaru waved his hand, maybe I feel wrong. After only seeing each other for one night, Shikamaru feels that Shiyu has changed a lot, and this change is not as simple as it seems. At this moment, Shiyu suddenly remembered that today seemed to be the first screen kiss between Naruto and Sasuke. I don't know if I have a chance to see it. He glanced at Naruto, who was smiling silly at himself, and then looked at Sasuke in the distance with a gloomy face, looking at him from time to time. Why does this guy seem to like to peek at himself? Uchiha Sasuke, what's the matter? And Sasuke was found shrunk back in embarrassment and pretended to look elsewhere. Shiyu didn't understand. What does this mean? Sasuke saw that Shiyu was surrounded by Shiyu. In the past, Shiyu could just talk to everyone, and his popularity was relatively good. And since Shiyu has changed, it seems that everyone has turned around Shiyu. Recently, even Inuzuka and Aburame Shino like to talk to Shiyu from time to time. This guy seems to be more popular. Congratulations, you're all genin. Iruka had already walked in while everyone was talking in low voices. Look at the genins who have successfully graduated in the class. Irika was quite emotional. Okay, let's start dividing into classes. After dividing into classes, wait for your instructor to take you away. 7th class. Shiyu took a look at Naruto. It was Naruto and the others. Uchiha Sasuke. Uzumaki Naruto. What? I'm in the same class as that bastard? Naruto stood up directly, and Irika looked at Naruto coldly. Naruto. Sit down for me. The staff arrangement is a decision made by Mr. Hokage after careful consideration. It's not your turn to question. Cut. Naruto sat down helplessly, but Naruto was quite unhappy about being in the same class as Sasuke. After all, that is the enemy. Shiyu will be fixed on little Sakura. Then there is Haruno Sakura, and to be honest, the little Sakura is pretty good, but it has nothing to do with Shiyu. At this time, little Sakura also turned her head suddenly and saw Shiyu. The moment the eyes of the two collided, little Sakura froze for a moment. Why did Shiyu secretly look at herself? Isn't he interested in Ino pigs? Moonlight Shiyu. Hearing his name, Shiyu didn't react at first, then he froze suddenly and quickly raised his head to look at Irika. Asking for flowers. Irika-sensei, are you calling me? Irika wanted to get angry a little bit. Are these Shaoweis listening carefully to their class assignment? I didn't call you, you are the last one in the 7th class. Hearing this, Shiyu's mind went blank. Himself and Sasuke Naruto became ninjas of the 7th class? And what about little Sakura? Class 8, Aburame Shino, Nor, Hyuga Hinata. Class 9, Haruno Sakura, Suzuki Zanoue, Watanabe Jin. Class 10, Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Choji. Ino looked unhappy and depressed. It's a pity that I'm not in the same class as Shiyu-kun. Shiyu didn't listen to what Ino was saying now, but looked at little Sakura with disbelief. I just replaced little Sakura's position? What does 3rd generation think of this? The 9th class. At this moment Irika spoke suddenly. Little Sakura and the other 3 looked at Irika. Your 9th class is quite special. Except for performing tasks, you need to go to my hospital to help at other times. Your guide, Jonin, is a medical ninja. She is usually at Konoha Hospital, so most of your mission time may also be at the hospital. Little Sakura and the others had no opinion, but Shiyu found it interesting. That counts. Helping little Sakura to avoid detours for 2 years? Straight into a medical ninja. This seems to be pretty good too. Little Sakura's fighting power is just like that, even if she has mastered this strange power, but in the later stage, it is actually no different from ordinary Jonin. It is also quite good to directly become a medical ninja and perhaps have a higher achievement in medical ninjutsu. And then comes the moment of desperation. Watching each class go away, they were all taken away by their own Jonin instructor. Underneath are Shiyu, Sasuke, and Naruto. Naruto went directly to sit next to Shiyu. What is our instructor doing? It's been so long and I haven't come. Shiyu smiled, just wait patiently. It's not too late. Being assigned to the 7th class means that I have become the key inspection object of the 3rd generation. That. You have to show your righteousness well. Episode 61, The Battle for the Great Dream begins. Master 3rd generation, you can rest assured that I will take good care of these 3 brats. In Hokage's office, Kakashi spoke slowly after reading the 3 documents in his hand. Uzumaki Naruto. Konoha's 9 Tails Jinchuriki. The most important thing is to protect the 9 Tails Jinchuriki. Of course, it goes without saying. Uchiha Sasuke, the last survivor of the Uchiha clan, and Sasuke's older brother is also an S-rank rebel Uchiha Itachi, and he himself is a rising star with outstanding talent. Kakashi understands the above 2 according to them. But the last Moonlight Shiyu, is there anything special about this kid? It's just creating a sword technique. Kakashi's father was once known as Konoha's White Fang, and his swordsmanship is naturally no problem. Even Kakashi's own swordsmanship is equally good, but since the ninja sword he inherited from his father broke the 860s, Kakashi has never used swordsmanship again. 3rd generation looked at Kakashi and glanced at Shiyu's information twice, as if he didn't care much in his eyes. This kid is not simple, Kakashi, you better not underestimate him. That's right. Lord 3rd generation, then I have to give it a try. A kid who created his own swordsmanship before graduation, how talented is he in swordsmanship? Hearing this, 3rd generation smiled, perhaps his outstanding talent is not just in swordsmanship. Okay, Lord 3rd generation, it's almost time for me to meet these brats. I don't know if Kakashi has heard the last words of the 3rd generation. Leaf school. In the classroom. Shiyu looked at Naruto, who was laying a trap. Although Shiyu wouldn't do this kind of childish behavior, it's still good to have a look. This kind of trap, do you think the picture above will fall into it? Idiot. Shiyu has no problem with Naruto's behavior, but Sasuke can't stand it. This kind of trap that can be seen through at a glance, if Jonin can fall into it, then he will still be our instructor? Sorry I'm late. Before Naruto could refute Sasuke, Kakashi pushed the door open and entered. The blackboard eraser that Naruto put on the door fell straight down and hit Kakashi on the head. This scene made the corner of Sasuke's mouth twitch slightly. This clumsy trap actually worked. And to a Jonin? I'm afraid this Jonin didn't come in through the back door. Is this your meeting ceremony? It's quite special. Kakashi didn't care, glanced at the three and said, "Follow me." Birdman looked at Sasuke intently, the pride in his small eyes could not be concealed. As if to say again. Look, you said you won't hit, how about this one? This guy hasn't hit yet. Sasuke is very speechless, is this kind of Jonin really reliable? Rooftop. Shiyu found a comfortable position and sat down, and it seemed that the dream session had begun. Standing opposite the three of them, Kakashi asked, "For a long time to come, I will be your teacher. So let's introduce each other briefly. Tell me about your name, age, hobbies, and future dreams." Moonlight Shiyu, 12, likes to eat, drink and have fun, and dreams of not having to work. Kakashi was going to demonstrate by himself first, but Shiyu rushed to answer. Gently nodded, "Very well, your hobbies are very good, and your dreams are great. Everyone loves to eat, drink and have fun, and everyone wants to do without work. Saying is tantamount to not saying." Naruto told Shiyu, and he was going to say it himself. Uchiha Sasuke, 12 years old, no special hobbies, no dreams, but if it is ambition, it is to kill that man. Speaking of the two in revenge, Shiyu glanced at Sasuke. This is the effect of Itachi's vengeance inspiration. Sasuke, didn't you see that I should say it first? Naruto was a little depressed when his words were interrupted. Kakashi is having a headache now, it seems that Sasuke's fire of revenge is stronger than he imagined. Okay, it's your turn. Kakashi looked at Naruto. Naruto stood up very seriously. Uzumaki Naruto, 12 years old, his hobby is to eat Ichiraka ramen, and his dream is to become Hokage. Kakashi nodded. As mentioned in the information, a hot-blooded middle school boy. Okay, then let's go directly to the next link. We've got to find another place, though. Kakashi smiled and looked at the three of them. Soon at the edge of the leaves, a large open space was found. Kakashi pulls out the bell. The battle for the bell is about to begin. Although you have graduated from school, I haven't recognized you yet. As your future instructors, only with my approval can you really graduate and become genin. If I don't approve of you, don't accept you, then you have to go back to the ninja school to study again. Kakashi raised the bell in his hand. See this thing? You need to snatch the bell from me before lunch. But there are only 2 bells. Having said that, Kakashi didn't continue talking. The implication is that there are only 2 bells, and only 2 people can pass through. But in fact, Kakashi didn't say that only 2 people can pass, and he didn't even say that grabbing the bell is considered a pass. Is there any problem, if not? Then we can start now. None of the 3 asked any questions. Kakashi nodded, okay, as long as there is no problem. He took a book out of his pocket. Then let's begin. Kakashi's pretentious look is very good. Naruto, Shiyu, there are only 2 bells, let's do it quickly, if Sasuke snatches it, then we won't be able to divide. That means trying to get Sasuke eliminated and the 2 of them pass? Sasuke glanced at Naruto, coldly. This guy has a good relationship with Shiyu 0.7. If the 2 of them work together to snatch the bell, then he will have to go back to school. Absolutely not. Sasuke frowned, and immediately exploded, and accelerated shot first. Unexpectedly, Sasuke was the first to strike. Kakashi thought Sasuke would watch calmly. Naruto was surprised by Sasuke's sudden move. So fast. Sasuke has always been a genius, number 1, but Naruto has never felt Sasuke's speed so intuitively. In a flash, he rushed to the front of Jonin's instructor. This speed is not something he can compare. Boom. Sasuke's physical skills are very solid, he swung his fist, and although Kakashi grabbed it with one hand, the sound of the impact was not small. This physical skill is already considered ceiling level for genin. Episode 62, Black Sword Zangetsu Shiyu Swordsmanship, Continuous Attack, Sasuke's strength and speed are very good. At the same time, the change of tricks is also perfect. But for genin, it is considered a textbook martial art, but in Kakashi's eyes, it is nothing. While reading a book, he can retreat while easily blocking Sasuke's tricks. Clasp Sasuke's hands with one hand. As a result, Sasuke could only jump up, use his feet to attack while his hands burst out with full strength, and break free from Kakashi's shackles. Kakashi froze for a moment, then put the book back into the ninja bag. And the next second, Sasuke's body turned upside down and kicked Kakashi's head. Kakashi grabbed Sasuke's leg, but Sasuke reached out and grabbed the bell on Kakashi's waist. Kakashi the kid, hurry up and throw Sasuke out. It was a surprise that Sasuke almost got the bell. Naruto was also taken aback, he almost got it. Looking back at Shiyu, Naruto saw that Shiyu was still calm as usual. Shiyu, aren't you worried? Hearing this, Shiyu smiled, what are you worried about? Worried about Sasuke snatching the bell. Shiyu shook his head indifferently, shouldn't Kakashi be the one who should worry about 21? What kind of answer is this? At this moment, the sound of fierce fighting sounded again, Kakashi threw out his hands, and Sasuke was beaten. Sasuke's expression changed drastically, damn it. How about trying this trick? As he said that, Sasuke's hands began to seal quickly. Seeing Sasuke's seal, Kakashi was very surprised, he can use ninjutsu, is this fire style? Fire style, great fireball technique, boom. Intense flame spurted from Sasuke's mouth. Kakashi's figure was instantly submerged directly. Then when the flames dissipated, Kakashi was completely invisible. Naruto yelled, Sasuke, did you kill sensei? Sasuke was speechless, the opponent was Jonin, how could he be killed so easily? In the next second, a voice came from under Sasuke's feet. Earth style, heart beheading technique. Boom. Sasuke was pulled directly into the ground, leaving only one head exposed. Want to struggle, Sasuke is completely struggling. Kakashi clapped his hands, you did a great job, and you almost snatched the bell. Saying that, Kakashi turned his head to look at Naruto and Shiyu, who hadn't made a move yet. Are you two just watching your companions being defeated by me? Teamwork or something? It's not like you can cooperate with each other when you meet for the first time. Shiyu is not yet familiar with each other, what a test of teamwork. Step up and walk in the direction of Kakashi, while holding the ninja Zijutsu on the back of the waist with the right hand. Naruto's voice sounded at this moment, Shiyu, let's deal with him together and grab the bell. Hearing this, Shiyu shook his head, no, just do as I said. Naruto was a little unhappy, but he didn't continue to refute. Did this kid tell Naruto about his plans? Kakashi smiled, knowing how to designate a battle plan is pretty good. But the two didn't care about Sasuke's life and death, which is not enough for a team. Clang. Shiyu pulled out Zijutsu, the jet black blade exuded this blue light pattern. Immediately, Kakashi was taken aback, what a beautiful knife, this ninja knife is very good, not an ordinary ninja knife. Hearing this, Shiyu looked at Zangetsu, it's really good. Sasuke and Naruto don't understand knives, but it doesn't prevent them from feeling Zangetsu's extraordinary. What is your name? Zangetsu. Kakashi bowed his head and savored the name carefully, it's a good sword name, I read your information, and it said that you created a sword technique yourself. Hearing this, Shiyu also nodded and admitted, ah. Yes. Well. It's good to be able to create your own swordsmanship at a young age, but swordsmanship is not the mainstream fighting style of ninjas, ninjutsu is. Is this to remind yourself? That's right. The swordsmanship handed down by Mr. Kakashi's family is very famous in Konoha, but Mr. Kakashi himself thinks that swordsmanship is not a powerful move. Didn't expect Shiyu to know himself? You know me? Kakashi was a little surprised. Shiyu nodded, Konoha's copy ninja Hatake Kakashi, the Hatake swordsmanship of the Hatake clan, I am also very curious. It turned out to be like this, it seems that Shiyu, a kid, likes swordsmanship very much. Because I have heard Hatake swordsmanship, it is normal for me to know myself a little bit. Thinking of this, Kakashi took out kunai from the ninja bag. I haven't used Hatake swordsmanship for a long time, let's use kunai to compete with you. Look at your sword skills. At this moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen is watching this through the crystal ball. Seeing that Kakashi actually wanted to use kunai as a sword, he competed with Shiyu in swordsmanship. Immediately shook his head, Kakashi. Even if you are a brat, don't underestimate him. Shiyu stared at Kakashi, although Kakashi's strength is indeed very good, Hatake's 50-50 is not for nothing. You can use kunai to compete with swordsmanship by yourself. That is too small for yourself. The corners of Shiyu's mouth rose slightly, revealing a faint smile. Sudden force in the next second. Bang buzz. There was an astonishing roar on the ground, and Shiyu's figure rushed out like a rocket that suddenly accelerated. This burst of speed has already stunned Kakashi. 770. This is not the speed that genin should have. Looking at the place where Shiyu was standing just now, a small piece of the ground was directly sunken. Naruto was right behind Shiyu's position, now engulfed in a cloud of dust. Shiyu passed in front of Sasuke, and a strong wind howled. Sasuke, who was buried in the ground, stared at Shiyu with wide eyes. Well, so fast, the speed is even faster than me. Followed by Sasuke's astonished eyes. The Zangetsu in Shiyu's hand drew a blue light. The semicircular arc slashed towards Kakashi's front. When, the burst of sparks scattered. Shiyu holds the ninja sword Zangetsu in the back with his right hand, and presses the back third of the sword with his left hand. Kakashi crossed a kunai in each hand to block Shiyu's ninja sword. I don't know when Kakashi showed both hands at the same time. Shiyu raised his eyes and stared at Kakashi, whose expression was full of surprise. Use kunai to compete with me in swordsmanship, Mr. Kakashi must be extra careful. With a quick turn of the blade was aimed directly at Kakashi's jaw, and the left and right hand switched upwards. Kakashi's eyelids fluttered rapidly. Jumped back quickly to escape. But Shiyu, the left and right hands were switched again, holding the knife in the right hand and chasing Kakashi straight away. Episode 63, Kakashi, your self-made swordsmanship is very strong. Shiyu, I haven't used it yet. Before. Shiyu has never used the sword technique of breathing water seriously. Since the development of water breathing until now, it has basically been linked to skills. For so many days, the passive skill bar has continuously enhanced the power of water breathing. Not only sword skills and water style, Shiyu's reaction and speed are also being enhanced all the time. The previous opponent was far from Kakashi's level. Shiyu wanted to make a serious move, but the opponent seemed unable to hold on. But Kakashi is different. Not going to be killed so easily, Shiyu can finally use his sword at full strength, without worrying about killing Kakashi. It's just a serious injury. Shiyu's eyes are extremely sharp, blink. Kakashi felt a little intimidated by himself, Konoha Elite Jonin, the famous copy ninja. To be frightened by a look from a kid who just graduated? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. At this moment, Shiyu, who was rapidly approaching him, swung his knife at him with an indomitable momentum. The black knife body exudes faint blue knife patterns, accompanied by an extremely sharp sound of breaking wind. Clang. Sparks flew. Kakashi held kunai with both hands, and his arm felt a dull pain from the shock. What a strong force, this little devil is not only superb in swordsmanship, but also absolutely not weak in terms of strength. Why does it feel like fighting that guy? And the guy in front of him is still a guy of grandmaster swordsmanship, which is quite bad. Kakashi almost couldn't hold back the power again with a sword and retreated helplessly. But Kakashi persevered. But Shiyu laughed. As expected, it's Hataki's 50-50, so I'm not welcome, knife in both hands. At this moment, Shiyu's eyes seemed to burst into blue streamer. The whole face seemed to have suddenly turned into an evil spirit in the night. Kakashi couldn't help trembling slightly seeing Shiyu like this. Shwa shwa shwa. Shiyu, holding the knife in both hands, seemed to go berserk all of a sudden. After images of Zangetsu frantically swinging the black knife emerged continuously, attacking Kakashi from all directions. Fast and crazy attack. Sasuke looked at the battle ahead, he couldn't see Shiyu's movements at all. But he is very clear that if he is facing such an attack, it is impossible for him to stop it. This guy was mediocre when he was in the ninja school, but he turned into a monster directly after leaving the ninja school. Damn, he was playing me before. Let me become the so-called number one, the so-called genius, while he hides in the dark, but he is the real most terrifying existence. Sasuke thinks it's Shiyu's trick to make himself attract everyone's attention while he hides himself. Click. Click. Suddenly a strange voice sounded. Naruto and Sasuke looked in Kakashi's direction. Although Kakashi barely blocked Shiyu's continuous crazy slashes, he didn't last long. At this moment, the half of kunai broken in the air is slowly turning in the air. It landed on the tree trunk beside it, and bang pierced directly into the tree trunk. Kakashi's figure jumped out from the forest and landed on the clearing near the river. Away from Naruto and Sasuke locations. Ha ha ha. Shiyu dragged Zangetsu and walked slowly towards Kakashi, step by step. The sharp blade kept rubbing against the gravel on the ground and splashed out sparks. Kakashi looked at the future Shiyu and exhaled lightly. I didn't expect that at such a young age, your physique has been polished to such an extent. At the same time, your swordsmanship is indeed very strong. You have surpassed me in swordsmanship. Shiyu didn't pay much attention to Kakashi's words. However, both Sasuke and Naruto were surprised. Let Jonin guide the teacher and admit that he is not as good as Shiyu in swordsmanship. Although swordsmanship is not the mainstream of ninjas, Genin has an ability that can surpass Jonin. This is already quite incredible. Next, I'm going to be serious, and I won't just fight you with swordsmanship. Your self-created swordsmanship is really strong. Kakashi doesn't want his reputation to be ruined today. If he is defeated by a Genin kid who just graduated, how can he hang around in Konoha in the future? He must be ridiculed by Guy every day. Teacher. I haven't used my own swordsmanship yet. But if the teacher wants to see it, I will show it to the teacher right now. A smile appeared on Shiyu's face. Kakashi was stunned for a moment. Isn't Shiyu's continuous sword attack just now the sword skill he created? Every blow can accurately attack the weak point of his defense. Kakashi thought that the attack like a strong wind was Shiyu's swordsmanship. Isn't it? Teacher, be careful. Suddenly Shiyu's voice sounded. Kakashi raised his head suddenly, Rishin. In his heart, it suddenly seemed as if a drop of water fell on the lake, and the momentary calm seemed to be broken. Water breathing. Boom. Shiyu suddenly took a heavy step, and his body rushed straight forward. The speed is still fast. As soon as Kakashi reacted, he threw the shuriken directly, trying to contain Shiyu's attack. But Shiyu's speed didn't decrease, but increased. Point 1 type water surface cut. Shiyu's voice sounded. A stream of water emerged out of thin air, and the moment Shiyu's Zangetsu slid across, the amazing stream of water converged to form an incomparably wide chopping wave of water. Swept towards Kakashi. The shuriken thrown by Kakashi was instantly bounced off. If Kakashi hadn't jumped up in the next second, he might have been cut into two pieces by the sweeping water-chopping wave. A drop of cold sweat dripped down Kakashi's cheeks, and a giant tree behind him collapsed. Whoosh! Suddenly a breaking wind sounded. Kakashi turned his head quickly, and caught Shiyu's figure out of the corner of his eye. He has appeared beside Kakashi. Shiyu bent down and held the knife in both hands, and suddenly raised his eyes to lock Kakashi. The unbridled type, the wave of strike. The moment the voice sounded, Jiao Hao Hao, Hey Dao also appeared in Kakashi's eyes. The water meanders. However, the black knife seemed to flow quickly in the flow path formed by the water, and rushed towards him quickly. Swish, swish, swish. The moment the two figures intersect, the winding water surrounding Kakashi opens instantly. At the same time, Kakashi's body was suddenly cut into 10 pieces. Naruto suddenly took a deep breath. Now it's not because of Shiyu's strength, but because he killed the teacher? Just when Naruto was about to speak, Shiyu turned around and accelerated, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. In the direction of the distance, he swung his knife again. 7th type Shizuku Ripple Stab. At this moment, Shiyu was approaching Ultimate's thrust, and flew out like light in an instant. A sword stabbed into the bushes. In an instant, the Kakashi behind him turned into a piece of wood in the white smoke, and was divided into 10 pieces of wood. And a figure rolled out of the bushes quickly. Episode 64, Cutting Thunder. Third generation, who was watching the battle with a crystal ball, was surprised by this scene, but also smiled, as expected of Kakashi. In such a short moment, the body replacement technique can still be used. Shiyu's swordsmanship is indeed terrifying, and the speed of that stab is as fast as lightning. But it looks extremely soft, like a brook gurgling in the summer forest. But the power? It's completely different. Boom. A stream of water rushed straight past. Not to mention that the bushes were destroyed in an instant, a long trace was left on the ground. A trace that runs through and stretches for more than 10 meters appears. Kakashi, who rolled in embarrassment and dodged the blow, stood up, looking back at the traces on the ground. He was also afraid for a while. If he didn't dodge this immediately, he might have left a blood hole in his body right now. This kid, is he planning to kill me? When Kakashi paused, Shiyu didn't intend to stop. In this battle, Shiyu was simply too comfortable. Carefree. Unprecedented fun, don't worry about the enemy will be defeated, just need to draw the sword. Strictly speaking, this was Shiyu's first all-out fight. 3 types Luluwu. Shiyu took the next sword move, directly after the blow. When 607 heard Shiyu's voice, Kakashi's complexion is not very good now. This kid has been from the beginning to now. Keep attacking, keep attacking. Not even giving myself time to breathe. Isn't he tired? After Shiyu began to formally display his sword skills, Kakashi was completely dumbfounded by the water-style power that broke out in the sword skills. Even a ninja who specializes in water style, the power of ninjutsu is nothing more than this. And Shiyu integrated it into his swordsmanship, releasing these attacks without needing seals. Continuous attacks, physical strength, and the control of chakra and nature transformation are not a small test. But Shiyu didn't have any problems at all. This moment. Shiyu's figure came with the high-speed impact of the sudden surge of water from nowhere. As if stepping on the water, the moment the sound of rushing water sounded. Shiyu's knife appeared in front of Kakashi's eyes again, and the sharp blade was attacking his face quickly. Hide. It's too late. The moment Shiyu left, Kakashi had already started making seals. When the blade came through the air. Card, CBDJ, Cassie also completed the knot seal. Earth-style earth flow wall. In an instant, a wall of earth rose in front of Kakashi. Bang bang. The roar also sounded instantly, and Shiyu slashed on the earth wall with a knife, and the hardness of the earth wall that blended into chakra was no joke. Shiyu's sword can't completely cut it apart, and this type of sword move doesn't focus on power, but on speed. Swish. Suddenly a figure rushed out from behind the earth wall on the right, and Kakashi actually took the initiative to attack. A sword swung towards Kakashi, and Shiyu's sword was swift and fierce, accompanied by a faint stream of water. Kakashi had no time to dodge and was hit. And the next second. Boom. Kakashi exploded into a cloud of white smoke. Shadow clone? Suddenly, at this moment, there was a crackling sound of thunder and lightning behind Shiyu. Shiyu turned his head abruptly. Kakashi, who has pulled up his forehead protector behind him, revealed his Sharingan, staring at Shiyu. Shiyu. You're an astonishing brat, you never thought you'd be able to force me to such a degree just after leaving your job. And it's just swordsmanship, but your swordsmanship can no longer be completely defined by swordsmanship. Strictly speaking, it should be considered a type of ninjutsu. Kakashi said with a smile on his face under the mask. Kakashi is also very happy to have an outstanding ninja like Shiyu among his juniors. But happy for fun, it would be too embarrassing for Hatake Kakashi to be defeated by a brat. So. Can't lose. But ninja fighting, relying only on physical skills, can't go far. This jutsu of mine can be regarded as my most powerful ninjutsu. It once cut off lightning. At this time, Shiyu directly grabbed Kakashi's words, Raikiri. Unexpectedly, Shiyu even knows Raikiri, so it will be easy to handle. Confidence? Block my Raikiri. Shiyu pinched the sword finger with his left hand, stroking Zagetsu's blade lightly. Who knows? Just try. Hearing this, Kakashi laughed softly. Dare to try, it means that Shiyu also has more powerful tricks. Then, let's try it. Kakashi is looking forward to it, looking forward to Shiyu's amazing sword skills. Holding the knife in one hand, chakra began to surge Shiyu, and his momentum suddenly exploded. The amazing chakra passively wreaks havoc. This is the last form of water breathing. Choose the type. Suddenly, Shiyu's body started to turn, and a water dragon emerged from where the blade passed. The sound of water flow from the gurgling stream, as the number of turns of Shiyu's rotation increases, the sound of water flow continues to increase. From the creek to the rushing river. Boom boom boom. In the blink of an eye, the roar of the water flow set off by Zangetsu has already begun to rumble. Kakashi originally wanted to wait for Shiyu to fully unleash, but now it seems that the more circles Shiyu turns, the more powerful the blow will be. I can't continue to wait any longer. If I want to continue to wait, then the loser must be myself. Shiyu. Here I come. Kakashi directly pinched Raikiri and hit directly. At this moment, Shiyu also opened his eyes suddenly, and a cold light flashed on the Zangetsu knife held in both hands. The water dragon that suddenly raged and turned opened its mouth at this moment as if it was roaring. Looking at Kakashi, who was attacking directly, Shiyu slashed the blade from top to bottom in Kakashi's direction. Life and death flow. Shiyu's voice sounded, and the water dragon formed by the violent current burst out suddenly. Kakashi also raised the Raiden in his hand at the same time. Raikiri. The collision of the water flow and the lightning caused violent turmoil in the next second. Flashing thunder and lightning, constantly raging water. The crazy impact of each other caused an amazing storm. Boom. The sky-high noise exploded on the edge of Konoha, and the people who were half of Konoha suddenly raised their heads. What's going on here? However, Shiyu and Kakashi at the edge of Konoha. At this moment, as the dazzling light slowly dissipated, the terrifying storm also stopped. The third generation in Hokage's office also slowly took down his pipe. It's really a wonderful battle. He also didn't expect Shiyu, who just graduated from ninja school, to be able to fight Kakashi to such an extent. Monster-like imp. In the dust and smoke, a figure appeared first. Third generation was slightly taken aback. Could it be? Episode 65, New attributes open after the assessment. Looking at Shiyu who came out of the dust and smoke. Third generation's heart froze. Could it be that Kakashi was the one who lost in the end? Just as third generation was thinking so, Kakashi also appeared. Gently patted the dust off his body. At this moment, he had pulled down the forehead protector to block Sharingan, stared at Shiyu for a while before saying, "This kind of sword technique is really terrifying. To be able to match my Raikiri," Kakashi said, looking at Shiyu, who was still breathing steadily. With the explosion just now, Shiyu acted like nothing happened. Doesn't this kid get tired? Of course Shiyu is fine. There are 2 water breathing skills in the passive skill bar. Shiyu uses water breathing in a state of no consumption at all. But now Shiyu is also slowly putting away Zangetsu, no need to continue. The last move also failed to defeat Kakashi, and this result made Shiyu understand what his own strength might be. At the same time, he also somewhat understood the approximate extent of the power of the breath of water. For the last blow just now, if Kakashi hadn't given himself a little time, it would be impossible for Tashizoto to be in the same state as Raikiri. The last pose takes a little time to prepare, and if there is enough time, it is not impossible to surpass Raikiri in power. But the enemy can't give you too much time to prepare to attack during the battle. At this time, someone needs to hold back the enemy for Shiyu, and the water avatars may be able to provide Shiyu with a little help. I just used swordsmanship just now. If I add Jonin technique, it might not be difficult to deal with Kakashi. But Kakashi didn't really try his best. After all, Kamui is not used. If Kamui is added, I will definitely be able to win Kakashi. Although your swordsmanship is very strong and your fighting power is amazing, it's not like you can't meet my requirements. Suddenly Kakashi's voice sounded, and Shiyu was still thinking about his own problems. Looking up at Kakashi, I still have to say this after all this is wanting to fight again. Seeing that Shiyu seemed to be fighting again, Kakashi quickly said, "It's not that you don't recognize your strength, but that you don't understand what is most important to a ninja." The most important? Shiyu is helpless. It seems that Kakashi is going to talk about teamwork again. Teamwork is important, but not so important that you can't live without it. But if you want to say this. Shiyu smiled and looked at Kaka, suddenly. Kakashi was stunned, because at the same time, 2 people rushed out from behind him, one left and one right. Naruto and Sasuke? When did they? Kakashi froze for a moment and stared at Shiyu in front of him. No wonder Shiyu put away his ninja sword. This is to let yourself relax, thus creating an opportunity for the 2 to attack. But didn't Sasuke let his heart decapitate the technique too? When he was fighting Shiyu just now, Naruto had already rescued Sasuke? Is this the plan that Shiyu told Naruto before? Swish. The sneak attack of the 2 was still unsuccessful, although Kakashi had just had a fierce battle with Shiyu, but it was easy to dodge Naruto and Sasuke's attacks. Naruto and Sasuke failed in their sneak attack, so they quickly jumped to Shiyu's side and said with some self-blame, "Sorry Shiyu, we didn't succeed." Even Sasuke could only keep silent at this moment. Shiyu let the opponent relax and created an opportunity for them to attack, but they failed to grasp it. "I'm really sorry for Shiyu." Shiyu didn't care and didn't say anything. And Kakashi suddenly fell and jumped onto a wooden post not far away. He squatted down and looked at the 3 of them. Shiyu's fighting power is very strong and smart. Even if he has a fighting power comparable to mine, he still knows how to use tactics to make me relax. Naruto and Sasuke's sneak attack just now, if these 2 brats were stronger, he might not be able to dodge it. Naruto and Sasuke are not bad either. Most importantly, Shiyu knows how to work as a team. According to the normal situation, a child as old as Shiyu wants to show off by himself, and doesn't think about his companions at all. But just now Shiyu ordered Naruto to rescue Sasuke, and let the 2 hide, and attacked him when he was most relaxed. It seems that there is no need to continue. You passed. Sasuke, who was still about to make a move, froze for a moment. "What did you say?" Kakashi jumped down. "I said, you are qualified." "Qualified? Haven't we defeated you yet?" "And Bell?" Naruto was also very puzzled. Why did he suddenly qualify? Asking for flowers. Kakashi looked at the silly Naruto and smiled. "Did I say that you must grab the bell to qualify? But didn't you say that our mission is to snatch your bell? A task is a task, and a qualification is a qualification. Is there any necessary connection between the 2? Naruto was stunned for a moment, and told him that he was stunned. There is no connection between the 2? Sasuke looked up at Kakashi. Why? Why did we pass? Look at yourselves. Now the 3 of you are working together to deal with me. You must know that the power of the team is terrifying. Even if I am Jonin, I can't kill you when the three of you attack together. Continue to fight, I will make mistakes, and it is only a matter of time before you win. Saying that, Kakashi laughed. Furthermore, this test is your teamwork spirit, which is very good. Gather here at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we will officially start your ninja career. Saying that, Kakashi raised his hand and waved at the three of them. Okay, goodbye. It's almost noon, let's go eat. After speaking, the person disappeared. Naruto looked back at Shiyu, with a look of awe, besides a hint of excitement in his eyes. He didn't expect Shiyu to be so powerful that he fought back and forth with teacher Jonin, and even seemed to end up with a tie. This is too strong. Shiyu, you can fight like this with the teacher, so can you teach me swordsmanship? Hearing this, Shiyu smiled. It's no problem to teach you, but your chakra is most likely not of water attribute, so, you can't learn it. Sasuke originally wanted to speak when Shiyu agreed, but stopped after hearing the second half of the sentence. He should be a ninja with fire attributes, so he probably won't be able to learn this swordsmanship. Okay, let's go to lunch first. The task will start tomorrow. Saying that, Shiyu walked directly towards the village. At the same time, click on the skill bar. Great Sage, analysis completed. Because the host does not have Sharingan, lightning style, Raikiri cannot be used. Congratulations to host for getting a new skill, lightning style. Although Raikiri cannot be used, Shiyu just unlocked lightning style nature transformation through Kakashi's Raikiri. Not bad. Episode 66, Ice Escape Test. Ice and Snow World. Eat? How about Shiyu going to eat a Chiraka ramen? Shiyu withdrew his gaze from the system and looked at Naruto, who had sent an invitation to him. Okay. Looking back at Sasuke, who was about to leave, Shiyu stopped him. Sasuke, do you want to go together? Hearing this, Sasuke froze for a moment, then frowned. Then let's go together. Before Sasuke could answer, Shiyu made a decision for Sasuke. However, Sasuke did not dislike Shiyu's approach. To deal with this kind of arrogant brat, you don't need to give the other party a choice, just help the other party make the choice. Come to a Chiraka ramen, my treat, 3 bowls of ramen, thank you. Shiyu said. Naruto on the side was still calculating whether the money on his body was enough for the three of them to eat together, and he laughed when he heard this sentence. Then I'm not being polite? No problem, don't worry. July 17th. The money I brought is enough for you to eat. After Shiyu finished speaking, Naruto's eyes radiated terror, as if the whole person had turned into a dragon. Sasuke is sitting on Shiyu's right hand, looking at Shiyu. You are so strong, why didn't you show it at school? Shiyu smiled at this question. Why show it when you're in school? In fact, Shiyu's changes only started in the past month, so I don't have a chance to express myself. When it was almost time for the graduation exam, I didn't test anything. You want to hide yourself? Make yourself unnoticed. Sasuke said. Shiyu didn't understand why Sasuke thought so. Humph. You are obviously powerful and terrifying, but you don't show it at all. In this way, no one will notice you. Sasuke clenched his fist lightly, but now I have noticed Shiyu, I will not lose to you, and I will catch up soon. Hearing this, Shiyu nodded and patted Sasuke's shoulder lightly. I believe you can do it. After all, he is the reincarnation of Indra, and Sasuke's speed of deception is also very fast. I should be the one to catch up with Shiyu first. Naruto spoke at this moment. Sasuke has no intention of bickering with Naruto, we'll see. With just such a sentence, the two began to secretly compete. I even started eating ramen faster than anyone else. Seeing the two people swallowing wildly, Shiyu panicked. Shiyu probably understands Naruto's appetite. If Naruto is alone, Shiyu will not panic, but add Sasuke. Are these two guys going to bankrupt themselves? After leaving from Ichiraka ramen, Shiyu looked at his empty wallet without tears. These two bastards, Shiyu suspects they did it on purpose. I'm afraid the days after that will be difficult. Why? After sighing, Shiyu walked out of the village. Naturally, going outside the village is for cultivation, even if you have a preliminary understanding of the level of your current combat effectiveness. Shiyu wouldn't stop there either. Facing Kakashi himself should be undefeated by now. So basically the only enemies that need attention are Kage-level ninjas. But that's not enough. You have to be stronger yourself. When he came to the edge of the small waterfall, Shiyu untied the ninja sword at his waist and stuck it in the rock beside him. Then jump onto the boulder in the middle of the river. Raise your hand and start printing. It's been hanging for a whole day, let's see now. How is the power of ice escape? Freezing moment. Ice escape activated. Within a few breaths, everything within a range of nearly 40 meters began to condense frost rapidly. And a layer of solid ice gradually emerged. The power has increased a lot, and the range of freezing has reached the level of 40 meters. Good. Made progress again. Shiyu unfrozen, then looked in the direction of Ninja Zijutsu. I am about 15 meters away from Ninja Zijutsu. Shiyu formed a mudra with one hand while staring at the ninja knife. In the next second, a layer of frost was instantly covered on the ninja knife, and then ice crystals visible to the naked eye continued to appear from bottom to top. It took 3 seconds to directly freeze the ninja knife, and from the position of the ninja knife, the surrounding ground frost also quickly condensed. In less than 10 seconds, everything within a range of 40 meters around was gradually frozen again. Shiyu nodded in satisfaction when he lifted the ninjutsu. It's not bad. At a distance of 15 meters, the target object can be covered in frost instantly at the moment of freezing, and the guy who reacts a little slower will be frozen directly after struggling at most. Then the next step is Ice Escape Ice and Snow World. Shiyu closed his eyes, and at the same time replaced the 2 Ice Escape ninjutsu on the skill bar, and directly replaced them with water style. Then using Ice Escape will be able to achieve no consumption. Shiyu maintains the frozen state, and the ice crystals within 40 meters will not melt. And the next second, the pupils opened suddenly, and the world of ice and snow activated. The invisible chakra wave erupted, and the surrounding area unexpectedly became frozen again, and countless snowflakes emerged at the same time, floating down from the sky. There was light in Shiyu's eyes, and he raised his hand to hook the snowflakes falling in the air. Immediately, snowflakes swept over, flying around Shiyu continuously. Scrolling, Shiyu controlled the snowflakes to speed up, and then waved his hand suddenly towards the distance. The ice and snow storm was suddenly formed, and it directly spoke to Yuan. The huge impact directly shattered the boulder, and the rolling ice and snow crazily cut the shattered stone. The ice crystals contained in the snowflakes can easily cut the stone into fine gravel, scattered all over the place. Seeing this scene, Shiyu smiled. Turning his head and looking to the other side, 1/3 of the tree was covered by frost, and the roots, branches, and leaves were covered with ice and snowflakes. In the next second, Shiyu manipulated the snowflakes that were generated out of thin air, turning into a snowflake tornado and rushing directly towards the tree. After the ice and snow engulfed the trees, the snowflakes quickly disappeared. Shiyu waved the rest of the snow to dissipate, leaving the trees infested with snow chill. In Shiyu's note, the tree split suddenly, click. 0.3 The branches and leaves of the tree fell, and a leaf fell to the ground, and it fell apart with a slight fall. Shiyu catapulted an ice cube lightly towards the tree, but the tree seemed to disintegrate when it was touched lightly, turning into countless fine sands and floating away. Ultimate low temperature, anything will become brittle. This is the power of cold air. Let alone a tree, even steel will become weaker than paper as long as the temperature is low enough under the pouring of cold air. There is basically no problem with the control of ice and snow, and the effect that can be achieved is no different from Gaara's control of sand. Now, what makes Shiyu a little dissatisfied is the range. The range of 40 meters is still too small. It seems that the 2 skills of Frozen Time and Ice World will stay on the skill bar for a long time. Episode 67, Possibility of Infinite Evolution, Ice Shield. Snow Shock. Ice Shuriken. Freeze. Shiyu tried to launch various attacks with ice and snow. The ice shield condenses extremely hard ice in an instant, forming a defense around Shiyu. It can be a huge ice wall, or an ice seal, that completely wraps Shiyu. Snow Impact, condenses ice and snow to form a small ice storm, impacts on the target, has a strong impact, and at the same time, the large snowflakes formed by the ice crystals are very sharp, and the cutting ability is also very good. Ice Shuriken, as the name suggests, is to directly condense ice crystals into a shuriken, which is used to attack. In addition to the shape of the shuriken, Shiyu can basically control what kind of objects the ice and snow condense into. De-icing is mainly the use of cold air, just like Byakuya Kuchiki controls Senbonzakura, allowing countless snowflakes to attack the target. However, in fact, the most important means of attack is the cold air, and the freezing of the cold air can make the attacked person or object fragile due to the terrible low temperature. Cells undergo rapid necrosis that destroys the structure. Of course, if the opponent uses chakra to resist, it should be able to block it for a period of time, if it cannot escape at this time. Then if you compete with chakra consumption, in Shiyu's Ice and Snow World, 21 will not be afraid of anyone. After all, Shiyu has no consumption, so the enemy is not necessarily. After activating the Ice World, the freezing moment can only maintain the low temperature within the range, so that Shiyu can better use the ability of the Ice World. In the case of not activating the ice world, when the freezing moment is activated for the first time, you can concentrate on freezing the target objects within a certain range. But if the opponent is not frozen, then the freezing moment will not have any attack ability. It will change to maintain a certain range of temperature and become extremely low. Now Shiyu's ice escape ability is probably like this. It's already pretty good. Shiyu himself was quite satisfied with Bingduan's ability. From Shiyu's point of view, in a one-on-one battle, as long as this ability is activated, it is only a matter of time before the enemy is defeated. As long as it is within this range, the enemy needs to constantly consume stamina and chakra to keep themselves from being frozen just to protect themselves. At the same time, you have to face your own cold and ice crystal attacks, which is not easy. With the skill column, these two abilities will become more terrifying sooner or later. At that time, the enhancement of range and freezing ability may really be no worse than wood style. Shiyu is now looking forward to the time when these two techniques grow to have that kind of power. Rehanging the two spells on the passive skill bar, Shiyu is ready to start researching his newly acquired attributes. Lightning style. Although lightning style Shiyu likes it very much, at the same time, the power of lightning style is also very good. But now compared to water style, the escapism of the other four attributes is too far behind. It's not easy for them to catch up with water style. It may take a long time just to hang on the skill bar. So if it is not necessary, Shiyu does not plan to further develop other escape techniques. However, lightning style can still be developed a little bit. After all, lightning style and water style can form compound ninjutsu to strengthen the power of water style. Meanwhile, Shiyu also had a curious question. Great Sage, can you analyze Sharingan? Great Sage, unable to analyze, not unanalyzable, but unanalyzable, can't be parsed? Why can't it be parsed? Great Sage, pupil art Sharingan is not simply the use of chakra, the most important of which is the power of blood, and the secret of blood cannot be resolved until the secret of blood is understood. Looks like that, I can't rely on you to obtain Sharingan's blood inheritance limit. Shiyu was a little disappointed. Great Sage, if the active skill 1 is repaired, the host can get the Sharingan's blood inheritance through the active skill 1, even the blood of Otsutsuki can also be used. Active skill 1? What is active skill 1? Great Sage, active skill 1 gluttony. Shiyu smiled, he should have thought of it a long time ago, didn't he see the word gluttony? But never paid attention to it. Great Sage, gluttony can prey on any object, and I will analyze it in the body, so that the host can obtain any blood inheritance limit. Very good. Shiyu was a little excited, the existence of gluttons simply gave him the possibility of infinite evolution. Etc. Great Sage, you haven't fully repaired yourself, when will gluttony be able to open? Great Sage. Unpredictable time, knew it would be like this. Then when will you be able to fully restore it? Great Sage, unpredictable time, why? At least give yourself some time. Great Sage, in fact, as the host continues to calculate various abilities, it also speeds up my repair factory in a disguised form. Estimated to calculate 1 or 2 blood succession boundaries, and my calculation ability will increase by 10% again. There is another saying? Calculating the blood succession limit by yourself can also help the Great Sage recover. Then judging from your current recovery progress, I'm afraid I'll have to develop 7 or 8 blood successor limits before your calculation ability can be fully recovered. Great Sage, it is estimated that at least 10 blood successors are needed. Well, more than I thought. 10 blood successors. That said, it won't be long in reality. It can be done in 2 or 3 months at most, so it is still acceptable. Okay. 10 is 10, isn't it? The development of blood successor limit 380. Shiyu clapped his hands. Now that he has all 5 chakra attributes, it is not a problem at all to develop the blood succession limit. But before again, Shiyu still wants to study the issue of lightning style. Developing Shuuji boundary can help you fix it, so what about my development of ninjutsu? Great Sage, the same can be done, that's fine. Now, based on the existing ninjutsu, calculate a low-level lightning style for me. The power doesn't need to be too strong. Calculating, 20%, 40%, 60%, this calculation speed is really fast. The development of ninjutsu does not seem to be a big problem for the Great Sage now. Unless it involves complicated chakra use. Successful calculation, congratulations to host for acquiring new skills, pass, lightning style, lightning strike, release a bolt of lightning to attack. With such a short introduction, it's no wonder that it was calculated in an instant. But enough. There is a lightning style ninjutsu, so Shiyu has to try it and see if he can perform compound ninjutsu. Hands up. Print. The left hand casts water style, water dragon bomb technique. The right hand casts lightning-style tilde-operator lightning strike, and the right hand is pressed on the left arm to complete the madra. Immediately, lightning flowed, and the current swept across. Episode 68, The Fusion of Blood Successor and Blood Successor. The water surged, and the thunder and lightning raged. However, in the next second, thunder and lightning burst out from Shiyu's palm, and at the same time, water flowed out of thin air along Shiyu's arm. Surrounding Shiyu's arms formed a stream of water that rolled straight forward. Thunder and lightning raged out and surged directly along the water flow. Compound ninjutsu. Lightning water dragon bomb technique. A terrifying roar sounded, and suddenly, the water dragon swept towards the sky with its long fangs and 5 claws. At the same time, his whole body was covered with thunder. Beep. The lightning water dragon bomb landed in the distant forest, and the terrifying impact generated by the explosion of the water directly destroyed 7 or 8 trees in the forest, directly forming an open space with a diameter of about 10 meters. At the same time, the water flow rolled the lightning and passed around along the water flow. Seeing this effect, Shiyu was very satisfied. But, Great Sage, why is there no hint? Isn't this a new skill? Great Sage, analysis, all the skills used by this skill have already been recorded, and the host uses different skills at different times before and after, so it is naturally not a new skill. Forehead. Well, it doesn't really count. Then what is it? Great Sage, I don't know. The reason why he wanted to try compound ninjutsu was that Shiyu thought compound ninjutsu would be considered a new skill. If it is really possible, then I have a way to let myself use the 5 escapes, all without consumption. But obviously this path doesn't work. Shiyu was not too disappointed when his idea failed. If it doesn't work now, it doesn't mean it won't work in the future. One day, I will be able to create a technique that possesses 5 types of nature transformation at the same time, so that I can easily achieve all 5 escapes without consumption. In fact, there is no consumption for the 5 escapes, isn't it just the truth-seeking ball? As long as one masters the technique of truth-seeking ball, then not only the 5 escapes but also yin-yang are included. All attribute ninjutsu has no consumption, not just talk. Now I have also tried the compound ninjutsu that I want to try. It stands to reason that Shiyu wants to revive the active skill 1 glutton as soon as possible. Then we should immediately start developing a new blood succession limit, so that the Great Sage can speed up the repair. But Shiyu suddenly thought of something that he had been puzzled about before. I don't know what the effect will be if the fusion of blood successor limit and blood successor limit. Thinking of this, Shiyu immediately became interested. The fusion of 2 chakra attributes can develop the bleeding successor limit, but in fact, the blood succession limit is just a new chakra nature transformation. Strictly speaking, it is actually changing chakra to produce a nature transformation that does not belong to the 5 basic attributes. Therefore, the 2 blood inheritance boundaries can also be regarded as a special nature transformation chakra. The fusion of blood succession limit and blood succession limit should also be possible. Great Sage, do you think it's feasible? Great Sage, analyzing. Great Sage, host wants to be established, but it is very difficult to realize it. High difficulty? Shiyu can imagine this point. After all, it is not easy to integrate the blood successor limit itself. On this basis, it is even more difficult to integrate the blood succession limit and the blood succession limit. A little bit of difficulty is normal. If I successfully fuse the blood successor limit and blood successor limit, will it be of great help to your recovery? Great Sage, it is estimated that the fusion of blood succession limit and blood succession limit may have the same effect as the development of 3 blood succession limits. 3 blood successors limit the boundary, then the help is not ordinary. Then come and try? The Great Sage didn't answer, it seems that he asked himself to think about it. Then try it. Theoretically speaking, the fusion of 5 different attributes of chakra can produce more attributes, and then the attributes generated by these fusions can also be fused again to produce even more incredible attributes. Perhaps in the end there is nothing in the world that chakra cannot become. The fusion power of blood successor boundary and blood successor boundary may not be astonishing. Shiyu felt compelled to give it a try. And now Shiyu also happens to have 2 blood successor boundaries that are very suitable for fusion. Ice escape and boil style. One for low temperature and one for high temperature. Ice and boiling are just opposites, cold and steam. Shiyu was curious about what the fusion of these 2 forces would create. Then try to combine ice escape and boil style. Great Sage, let's analyze what preparations need to be made to successfully integrate the 2 blood successor boundaries. Great Sage, analyzing. According to the idea of the host, we speculate that we want to combine the 2 blood succession boundaries. 1. It is necessary to enhance the control of chakra, to the point where chakra can be easily manipulated as silk threads at will. 2. Host needs to enhance 2 nature transformation, ice escape and boil style tools. 3. The host needs to enhance the physique. The current physique is too weak to withstand the impact of the drastic temperature change during the fusion. Simply put, it is chakra's control, the power of escapism, and physical fitness. In that case, I have to change the skills on the passive skill bar a little bit. Great Sage, reminder, host puts skills on the skill bar. The improvement brought by active use of skills is more than double that of passive operation. Is there such a function? Great Sage, of course, why didn't you say it sooner? Great Sage, I thought the host already felt it. Sometimes. This damn skill doesn't seem very smart either. Alright. Thinking about it carefully, it really seems that after installing the skill on the passive skill bar, every time I use the skill, the effect is very good. In this case, it is naturally impossible to rely on passive operation alone. The effect of self-active cultivation is more than 10 times, which is still very good, and the combination of active and passive is faster. No money, Great Sage, speeding up thinking can also improve the effect of active cultivation. Thinking acceleration still has this ability? Great Sage, of course. Why did Shiyu feel as if he didn't even need to ask this question? Asked why it didn't say it before, I guess I would still answer myself, I didn't ask. He exhaled lightly, calming down his rising blood pressure. Shiyu looked at the passive skill bar faintly. Since this starts from the control of chakra, the 3 skills of chakra, physical skills, and illusion, cannot be changed. This is the foundation, and the foundation has to be built. As for the 2 ice escape ninjutsu, try not to remove them. Then there are 2 breaths of water left, and now Kakashi is full of praise for his swordsmanship, although the passive operation is constantly improving. But the speed is also much slower, just replace them. Take control with chakra. Episode 69, 10 times enhanced breakthrough is like drinking water, replaced the passive skill bar. The next step is to practice. And the practice that needs to be done now is chakra control. Usually, the control training that needs to be done is nothing more than 2. Climb trees and tread water. These 2 skills Shiyu has already mastered. But just like the classmate test and the scumbag test, the test is also 100 points. The scumbag is because his ability can only take 100 points. So although you have mastered the skills, it doesn't mean you can't continue to strengthen them. Then how can I strengthen the training of chakra control? Add weight? This is the first method Shiyu thought of. Great Sage, host only needs to release the skills hanging on the passive skill bar, and release them normally to get 10 times the effect, then I will increase the difficulty myself, and the effect of cultivation will be further enhanced. Great Sage, of course, that's alright. Since it has already taken time to cultivate, what Shiyu wants is to increase the difficulty of cultivation as much as possible and strengthen the effect of cultivation. Glancing at the boulder on the side, it weighs about 700 jin. For sure 640 use physique, it is not difficult to lift such a stone. But standing on the water holding such a stone is. Poof. Not surprisingly, Shiyu fell directly into the river. Fortunately, the river was not deep, and the water level only reached Shiyu's waist. It seems. The weight has been strengthened, and if you want to step on the water, the requirements for chakra's control are even higher. The width of the feet is that big, and I want to rely on these chakras to lift a 700 jin corpse to stand on the water. That also means that chakra needs to flow faster and at the same time strengthen the density of chakra. In a fixed range, the density of chakra should be strengthened. For the control of chakra, the requirements are not generally high. Lower the weight a bit and try again. With Shiyu's current chakra control ability, he can lift up to 500 caddies of stones and stand on the water. And because the water flow under the waterfall is extremely fast, Shiyu could only hold for 10 seconds before falling into the water. Although falling into the water again and again made Shiyu a little helpless. But Shiyu also felt the tenfold effect that the Great Sage said. At the same time, when the thinking acceleration effect is turned on to strengthen the practice. Only then did Shiyu truly feel what it means to advance by leaps and bounds. Shiyu seems to be able to master more methods every time he practices, and can obviously feel greater progress. The first time I only persisted for more than 10 seconds. But the second time, Shiyu held on for 25 seconds. The third time, I persisted for more than 30 seconds. Such an obvious improvement made Shiyu even more excited. Continuously falling into the water, and then getting up again, and each time the persistence time will directly increase a lot compared to the last time. 10 times the effect of cultivation, this is simply amazing. Although Shiyu was already drenched, he was very happy. It seems that I should continue to refine chakra at night, just relying on the growth of the passive skill bar, the speed is too slow. Plop. Shiyu fell into the water again. At this time, Shiyu has been replaced by a huge stone weighing 700 kgs. 3 hours passed quickly during Shiyu's crazy practice. Boom buzz. With a loud noise, Shiyu threw the huge boulder, dozens of times larger than himself, directly aside. The boulder fell and directly smashed a hole in the ground, and even the ground seemed to shake slightly. This stone weighs 1,000 kgs. However, Shiyu was able to keep standing for about half an hour while holding it on the high-speed flowing water. The practice of treading water can continue, but you have to continue to increase the weight. But holding the CBDJ boulder nonstop for 3 hours, the weight wasn't just a test of Chakra's control. It is also a test of Shiyu's physique. Shiyu was tired too. Now get ready to take a break. But Shiyu didn't intend to waste the rest time. Open your hands and release chakra to control chakra to change into various shapes. And this can be regarded as actively releasing the passive skills controlled by chakra. It can still provide Shiyu with the effect of cultivation. Watching the shape change of the chakra released from the palm, it becomes easier to change according to Shiyu's will. Shiyu suddenly thought of something, the puppeteer's chakra line. Although I don't know what the difference is. But if you condense chakra into a state of silk thread, release it and then control these silk threads, what will be the effect? Thinking of Shiyu, he tried directly, raising his hand for the first time, to release the chakra silk thread. Seeing a few thick chakra silk threads fly out for a distance of 3 or 4 meters, it seems very difficult to stop and want to go further. Shiyu's eyes lit up immediately, because during the process of releasing the chakra silk thread, Shiyu felt that the enhanced effect on chakra's control was even more obvious than holding a boulder and treading water. Continue to try to control the chakra more delicately, forming a more slender chakra line, and at the same time continue to extend the distance of the chakra line as much as possible. Time passed little by little, and the chakra lines flying out of Shiyu's fingers became thinner and thinner while the distance continued to increase. In just 2 hours, Shiyu directly turned the thread, which was originally the size of a finger, into a spider's thread. If it weren't for the blue light of chakra, it would be difficult to find the existence of the chakra thread. At the same time, it has reached a terrifying distance. It stretches directly for more than 50 meters. But what is the use of this chakra thread? It seems that only puppet masters can operate puppets through the chakra line, through the secret method of puppets. It's a pity that Shiyu doesn't know puppetry. At the same time, it would be too time-consuming for the great sage to calculate. After all, Shiyu doesn't have any ninjutsu in this area, and it may take several weeks to rely solely on the calculation of the great sage. Besides, Shiyu doesn't plan to learn puppetry either. But look at the chakra thread in your hand. If the chakra density of the chakra thread is strengthened, will the chakra thread be able to generate some attack power? Even if there is no attack power, it is a good skill to be able to pull something through the air, through the chakra thread. But there is a new problem here. I want to strengthen the density of chakra threads while maintaining such a thin state. Obviously not so easy to do. This seems to be a new direction of cultivation. Episode 70, Unexpected Harvest. Chakra Coat. Shiyu tries to increase the density of chakra. Looking at the chakra silk thread shot out from the hand, the color is becoming more and more intense, and there is a kind of gradual change from gaseous state. The sensation of constantly changing into a liquid state. When Shiyu condenses the density of chakra to his limit, and then tries to control the state of chakra changing into chakra silk thread and project it out. At the first attempt, the thickness of the chakra silk thread returned to the same size as a finger. But the chakra thread shot out is exactly as Shiyu thought. A stone was pulled over easily. Although it is only a small stone, it weighs only a few kilograms. But now the chakra thread seems to be working. But the distance can only reach about 3 meters, the chakra line is too thick, and it is too far from what Shiyu imagined, and the distance is also not up to the requirement. Continue. Look up at the sky, the moon has come out. Before I knew it, it was night again. But Shiyu doesn't plan to go home and sleep now. The speed of this kind of cultivation progress is simply unstoppable. Learning progress is quite an addictive thing, especially when you can clearly feel your progress. With this speed of improvement, Shiyu felt as if sleeping was a waste of time. And as Shiyu began to continue to focus on chakra's control practice, the length of the chakra thread is not just increasing slowly. 7 meters. 8 meters. 9 meters. 10 meters. Even the density of the chakra threads is increasing. And as chakra's ability to control continues to improve, Shiyu even feels something more. For example, chakra flowing in the body, and acupuncture points all over the body. A feeling of being gradually controlled by the body emerges. After Shiyu managed to reach a distance of 20 meters, Shiyu looked at the chakra thread in his hand. Looking up at the stone 20 meters away. The weight is about 200 kgs, and it is absorbed with chakra silk thread, and then pulled back. Sure enough, the stone was easily pulled over. Shiyu looked at these chakra threads. Is this considered accomplished? Shiyu smiled. But suddenly when Shiyu retracted the chakra thread, he looked at the compressed chakra in his hand. It flows on the arm like a liquid, and there are white light spots in it. Blinking constantly. This feeling reminded Shiyu of something suddenly. Suddenly a smile appeared on Shiyu's face, and then he began to control chakra to compress continuously, and then covered the body. The chakra in the body is continuously being extracted, and Shiyu can obviously feel that his chakra is constantly decreasing. And when the compressed chakra covers the whole body, less than 1% of the chakra in Shiyu's body remains. Compared with ordinary ninjas, Shiyu's chakra amount is now about 800 times that of them. Instead, apply chakra compresses to the surface of the body. There was only about 1% left. Visible how much chakra is compressed. However, when Shiyu finished the last step. Congratulations to host for mastering new skills, Chakra Coat. Chakra Coat, provide powerful attack and defense power, according to different chakra, different degrees of compression, the power is also different. Chakra Coat, I developed the Chakra Coat inexplicably? What is a Chakra Coat, needless to say? This state basically occurs when Naruto uses Nine Tails Chakra. At the same time, Susanoo of Sasuke is also a kind of Chakra Coat. The Chakra Coat is also a very powerful ability, integrating offense and defense. Can increase attack and defense. Even speed can be increased. Shiyu looked at the blue light flowing from his body, and at the same time, white starlight was shining in these blue liquid chakra. Under the night sky, Shiyu, bathed in chakra, is almost like wearing a garment formed by the sky full of stars. Shiyu looked at the stone in front of him, raised his hand and stretched out his index finger, and tapped lightly on the stone. Next second. Click. Crack. Crack. Bang. The boulder directly split into countless cracks, just such a light point, and the stone cracked. And directly collapsed a corner. Just so lightly, just. Has this kind of power? Shiyu herself felt a little unbelievable. Asking for flowers. The feel of the chakra coat is amazing. However, the consumption of chakra is quite a lot, and Shiyu does not have 9 tails to provide tailed beast chakra. If you want to condense the chakra coat, you can only rely on your own chakra. And using his own chakra to condense the chakra coat, if it weren't for Shiyu's control of chakra, it would have been raised to the point of terror. Even with this amount of chakra, it is absolutely impossible to condense the chakra coat. Shiyu raised his hand and shot out the chakra silk thread, pulling the ninja knife Zangetsu stuck in the rock in the distance. Pulling out Zangetsu, Shiyu cut his arm lightly with Zangetsu directly. However, the sharp Zangetsu, even cutting gold and cutting jade is no problem, and can slide on the chakra coat. 0. Even sparks burst out. With the defense of the chakra coat, ordinary attacks cannot penetrate the defense at all. Strong, too strong. Is this a windfall? Just to enhance the chakra control ability, the chakra coat was actually developed. Even the chakra coat has been developed, so according to the current situation, my grasp of chakra should be enough to carry out the fusion of the 2 blood successors. Great Sage, it is estimated that the limit distance of the highly condensed chakra silk thread should be extended to about 35 meters, which should meet the requirements for the fusion of the 2 blood successors. Need another 15 meters? Shiyu looked up at the sky, it should be almost morning now. To extend the distance by another 15 meters, I'm afraid, it will take several hours. Forget it, let's get here today. Shiyu is not a fairy, and he is very tired now. While sleeping to restore energy, tomorrow will be Genin's first mission. Although it may be some D-level tasks such as catching cats and dogs, or cleaning up weeds and taking out garbage. But this task is the most energy-intensive. He raised his hand and released the chakra silk thread, directly sucked the scabbard on the ground, and pulled it into his hand. Shiyu scabbard, Zangetsu. Nodding in satisfaction, although the chakra silk thread is not good enough for attacking, but it has many aspects in normal times with this ability. At the same time, it is also very suitable for using pills when playing handsome.